Mac Geek Gab, episode 1007 for Monday evening, October 30th, 2023. Greetings, folks, and welcome to the second Mac Geek Gab hopefully released today. We're certainly the one intentionally released today. We're normally the show that answers your questions and solves your problems and shares your tips and shares your cool stuff found. And we're going to keep doing that. It's just right now, we just finished watching Apple's Scary Fast event, and we watched it scarily fast. Yep. And we're going to talk about it. Pilot Pete couldn't make it. However, we have well, what I would like to think is an excellent group of people and me for you today. So here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
Well, here in Boulder, Colorado, I'm Jeff Gamet.
And here in cold South Dakota, I'm Adam Christianson.
Thanks for joining us, guys. This is great. Yep. Yeah, it's cold here, too, in my studio because I set the heat to come on 90 minutes after Apple's event started, thinking that would be perfect timing. And Apple's event took 30 minutes. So that was interesting.
So by the time we're done recording here, your heat's going to kick on.
I'm just going to keep peeling off layers. So for those of you that chose to watch the video, I'm sorry. So
yeah, or you're welcome.
Okay. Sure. It's one of those things.
Who are we to judge?
Who are we? Well,
meant scary fast. Like this whole keynote was weird. I'm just freaked out by the whole thing.
Were you scared by it, Adam?
No,
not
am I
sensing a theme?
Just more
here?
like, why is it at 5? Why was it at 5 p.m. Pacific? Why was it 30 minutes? Why was it like? It's just like the weirdest keynote I can ever remember Apple doing. Like, it's bizarre. And they disappointed me because, like we talked about on the last Mac Geek Gab, they weren't all dressed up like for Halloween.
No, they all wore black though, or dark
I did
clothing.
That. They all wore black.
Yeah,
I wanted Tim Cook as a werewolf or Frankenstein or something. It would have been great.
Well, we didn't give him enough time to turn into the werewolf, Adam. I think that still could happen.
That's why they had to do it so fast. So they could get through it before he transformed.
I would equate. It's interesting that maybe it's not interesting. This was about Macs. Apple announced the new M3 line of chips, and then the new MacBook Pros based on those, and iMacs based on those. I don't want to say new iMacs based on those. I just want to say iMacs based on those. But it reminded me of how we would, in the past, we would get like a big deal about iPhones and a big deal about iPads sometimes, and then a press release on a Tuesday morning that was like, oh yeah, by the way, we speed bumped a couple of Macs. Like that for a long time, Jeff. That like when we were doing Mac Observer together, that was a pattern. Like we came to expect it. Like, oh, it's probably going to be this particular Tuesday that we're going to get that press release. So let's be ready for it. Let's be on the lookout. Those kinds of things.
Yep.
This event reminded me of that. I mean, I know it was an event. I also noticed because I guess I was hungry for content. I watched all the way through to the end, and I'm trying to find the screenshot that I took, which magically is not here. But it ended by saying that the entire event was shot on iPhone and then edited on a Mac. They say all presenters, locations, and drone footage shot on iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yep. See, I missed that because I was still in my adrenaline rush from just the whole thing being so fast. And I hopped up and was getting ready for this, and so I totally missed it. That's fascinating.
Well, yeah. They did pan a moonshot across the Apple logo and have a werewolf howl at the end also. So maybe that's when Tim Cook donned his
that could be that. I missed the I saw the thing. I did not hear any sound though. So
yeah, there was a distinct
howl.
howl at the
Nice.
moon kind of thing, and then that shot that you showed,
Yeah.
which I mean, I always assumed at least edit it like they always edit on a Mac, right? Like
I would assume that's not a surprise. Yeah, if that is news, that in and of itself, the fact that it's
Would be
news
huge
is the
news,
biggest
yeah.
news, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed these were all shot on camera red, edited on Macs using Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
And, well, at least I was partially right.
Partially, yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about some of these things that Apple announced. I was going to say I don't want to rehash everything, but in a sense, we just did.
right.
But I thought the to me the most disappointing thing was the iMacs. So maybe we just dismiss that really quickly, unless you guys have anything you want to talk about. They did make it abundantly clear that there will not be a 27-inch iMac without saying they got as close to saying there will not be a 27-inch iMac by saying that I'm looking for the little grid. What did they say? There was
Right.
the iMac is a 4.5K screen with the 24-inch, and that is that's a good replacement for
Right.
whatever they said.
This is the same story they've given in the past, though. Like
Yes.
their statement is basically, it's essentially a 27 inch. It's not 27 inches.
No,
more
it's
or
not.
less
It's
what they're trying
24
to-
inches.
But I mean,
Hey,
that's
like-
what they're trying to imply. They're trying to get us to believe that it's just as good because the resolution's so high, and why would you need 27 inches anyway?
Because it's actually bigger.
I know.
I know you know this.
We know this.
Yeah, the problem, Dave, is you did not buy enough of the 27-inch iMacs for Apple to keep making them.
I don't know. I got two of them sitting on my floor unused at the moment. One where the screen died, and that's why I have a Mac Studio here now, and another one that was I bought a lot of those. Maybe
You should have
I
bought more.
guess so. I guess that's it. And I don't, now that I have divested myself of reliance on the 27-inch iMac, I like the flexibility that I have buying a more modular system, either a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can choose my 27-inch or larger screen of my liking. So I get it, but it's also, well, then the iMac is just not for me.
No.
Perhaps ever again.
And that's okay.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've squarely said, I mean, I think it's also them squarely saying, like, look, this is a consumer computer. It's for small businesses. It's for, this is not a pro computer. It doesn't have a pro chip. It's not a pro computer. It is for someone who just wants to plop something simple on their desk. They don't want an extra display or any of those complications. And if you want that, hey, guess what? We've got a great Mac Mini for you, and we've got a great Studio.
Well, let's so to wrap it up with the iMac, it quote unquote only has the M3 chip, not the M3 Pro nor the M3 Max, which all three were announced today. You get up to 24 gigs, sorry, not terabytes, 24 gigs of unified memory. It does have Wi-Fi 6E in it now, I noticed from the grid.
Yep.
So it got some upgrades in that sense.
It was the Bluetooth upgraded. I can't remember where we were at with
5.3. Yes, the Bluetooth was upgraded as well. Yeah, it saw a lot of upgrades, which I thought, okay, like internally, it was bumped. Let's call it. But yeah.
To your earlier point, all of these things actually in the past would have been. This is like our video press release.
Exactly. Shot on iPhone, no less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned here's a Mac Mini for you, but there's not an M3 Mac Mini. That seemed lacking to me.
Maybe that's the press release we get tomorrow.
just to give us one of those things. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll buy that.
If not, that update's coming sometime next year, like probably
Yes.
next year.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting that they didn't just do that today.
Maybe they're managing expectations because there might be like parts inventory issues.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so they have enough that they feel comfortable rolling out the iMac. And once they ramp up production enough, then they'll add in the Mac Mini.
My guess is too, like, it's not so much the M3 for the iMacs, it's probably the M3 needing to be set aside for that base model MacBook, which is going to be hugely popular, I would imagine.
The MacBook Pro, just
The
for
MacBook,
clarity.
the MacBook Pro entry level where they dropped the price, that
Yeah.
price point is killer for a lot of people, I bet.
I don't disagree. Yeah. So let's talk about this new MacBook Pro, because this is truly a new device, and it gets the full M3 treatment, the 14-inch. Like you said, Adam, the price now starts at $14.99, which is
Like for students, like
yeah.
if you're a student going to college right now, like, and haven't bought a machine, unfortunately their timing's a little bit off, but like this should have been, if they would have been out in the fall before kids went back to school, like there'd be a lot of kids going to school with that machine.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Although the Air really does serve the purpose for a lot of people who in past years would have needed a MacBook Pro.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going into graphics, if you're going into video production, if you're going into, computer programming, like that's a killer machine.
But looking at this price grid, there's an interesting thing. So looking at the 14 inches and of course you can customize these things left and right. The base model at $14.99 is the M3 chip with 8 gigs of unified memory and 512 gig SSD storage.
Yep.
And then it bumps up to the same chip with a terabyte for another $200, terabyte of storage. So you double your storage, $14.99 to $16.99 gets you that. But there's this $18.49 sitting out here, which bumps you all the way up to an M3 Pro, which qualifies you for the new space black color, which doesn't look all that different from the midnight that I see on my Air, but maybe in person it's radically different. But that now, because it's the M3 Pro, it's the 11-core CPU instead of the 8, and it's got a whopping 18 gigs of unified memory. It adds 10 gigs of memory and this new CPU, still with the 512 gigs SSD, for $350. That's an interesting sort of carrot to dangle out there for folks. Like,
Wait,
hey,
that's $250, right? Am I doing my math right?
$14.99 to $18.49.
Oh, you're going from the base, or I was going from the mid tier, from the $16.99.
Yeah, did I get it right? Is it? I thought it was $350. I'm
Yes,
getting
yeah,
it right.
yeah,
$18.49 minus $14.99 is $350. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going all the way from the base model. Yeah.
I was going all the way from the base model. Yes, but thank you for catching that, just in case anybody at home was confused too. Yeah, that to me is an interesting delta, because it's like, well,
extra for $350
exactly
for Apple. For what Apple typically charges for memory, like that's a steal.
Yeah. It's not bad, and I'm assuming if I wanted to bump that up to a 2 terabyte, okay, so at $180, so $20.29 gets you that machine. Sorry, with a 1 terabyte storage. 2 terabytes is another $360. But yeah, okay, so you get a little bit of a discount on the additional storage by doing it on this one.
So
Side note here,
making
as I'm looking at the pages with all the specs and the pricing, that base model is $100 more on all the pages for me. It's $15.99 instead of $14.99.
What
are you, in the UK?
Are you like VPN somewhere?
Let me make sure I don't have a VPN turned on.
I mean, that's weird, right? Like,
it's totally weird.
I want to send you the URL that I am looking at, because you can see my screen, because you can see the video.
And I see exactly what you're seeing.
But it says $15.99?
And for me, it's the same thing, except the pricing on that base model is $15.99, and
well, you get the special Jeff Gamet pricing.
I was going to say,
we'll all pay the other pricing. But
yeah. I paid the special
wait,
tax.
no.
Dave's on EDU.
I'm on the education store. Because I don't know how I got there. I clicked through from Apple's site. You're not wrong, Jeff.
Okay.
$15.99. Thank you for catching that. Holy cow. Yeah. This is why we do this together.
This looks so much better to me now.
Yeah.
Because I was
This
trying
is
to
news
figure
in
out
real
what am I
time,
doing
folks.
wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad you
And
said
what
something.
I'm doing wrong is not going for EDU pricing.
Yeah, how did I get to the education store? That's I don't know, but anyway, there you go. So some pricing differences now: $15.99 for the base model, unless you can convince Apple that you are a student of life, in which case all the previous prices I just mentioned are yours. $19.99, so it's a $400 delta, not a $350 delta to this 18 gig machine, and then adding another. Doubling up your storage to a terabyte adds. Oh, wait, it just did it to me. See, okay, it's $200.
$2,200 basically.
Yeah, it's $200 to add that storage, so you don't get the discount on that.
Yeah, so by the time you've beefed up that with all that other stuff, just buy the 12-core M3 Pro for $23.99.
Yeah.
Because now you get the 12-core CPU, 18-core GPU, 1 terabyte SSD, and and it's $23.99.
That's that next tier up, right? Yeah. So they're really, I mean, what I was going to say earlier is like, they're really, I think, differentiating, like making you decide, where you're at. It's a MacBook Pro, right? I think for pro users, it seems like an easier choice. If you're one of those people that lives on the fence, like you were saying, Dave, with the MacBook Air, right, which is now M2 versus the MacBook Pro entry level.
Yep.
It seems like it's getting maybe a little muddy for some folks. I don't know. Potentially.
Yeah.
Like, do you want thin and light?
Right.
Do you want thin and
fair
light?
point.
Do you want a little extra processor? Do you want they've kind of blurred that line a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question. Right. It is a blurred line. I'm curious to see how it kind of shakes out in the market as things evolve. Yeah.
I think consumers will probably more opt for the Air just because that's a sexy machine. But and it's, if you want a Pro, you're probably wanting the Pro processor. You're wanting, that more memory. You're wanting all those other things. So I've had this conversation actually with friends who are on the fence. They're like, should I get the base model Pro or the Air? And I think almost always once you talk it out with someone, they end up with the Air just because of how thin and light it is. And it's not that big of a delta. Like, you're not getting that much extra by bumping up to the Pro typically.
For most people.
For most
nice
people
machine.
at that level. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. I mean, I am at that level. Like I can't see a world where a Pro would be the right machine for me. I mean, I tried it a couple of years ago and was like, no, I want my Air back, please.
Yeah. And see, for me, I'm in the other world, because if I was just doing the podcasting stuff, then the Air would be the clear choice. But because I'm a developer and some of those other things come into play where I'm doing Photoshop stuff occasionally, all that stuff, I prefer having the little extra bump, especially on the GPU side that the Pro gives me.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, I wound up giving my Pro that I had for 5 minutes to my son, which he still uses, and he's a software engineer. Like it makes, he's great with it. Yep. It gives him the little bit of extra that he needed for that. So it's interesting that you mentioned. Were you going to say something, Jeff? Sorry, I was going to take us kind of down a different rabbit hole.
Actually, it doesn't matter because it just would have carried on what we're saying. Take us down a rabbit hole.
Well, the rabbit hole is, I noticed as Apple, especially as they were talking about the new M3 chips, which is how they started the event. For those of you that haven't watched it yet, it started with probably a good 10 to 12 minutes about the M3 chips. And then it was like, by the way, here are these computers that we put them in. All right, good night. And they talked a lot about how the new GPUs were going to make games better. It's got this dynamic caching in there, which more efficiently uses memory. But then they very And they said, by the way, that this dynamic caching is transparent to developers, meaning it's just going to take the existing code and do it the right way, the new way, whatever. But then they talked about hardware accelerated mesh shading, and for the first time on the Mac, hardware accelerated ray tracing. And that was interesting. Like, they're really pushing, if you take this combined with the, port, I forget the name of the technology that Apple has to help game developers port over to the Mac, or to Apple platforms in general. But, pushing this is like, this is a gaming machine. This is a gaming machine. That's interesting to me that Apple's really they're going bullish on this. And they talked about it with the new MacBook Pros too.
How much of this is important for their whole VR initiative?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I feel like this is more about trying to convince people they have these technologies coming for Vision and Vision Pro or whatever in the future. I mean, as much as Apple wants to sell that they have all these great features, which are awesome, and it's easy to port and stuff like that, where they need to be putting the time and the investment and the money is not in the technologies that they're providing. It's at convincing developers that there's a gaming market in the Mac market and that they can sell titles. You know what I mean? Like, that's all developers care about. Like, they want to sell titles, and even with all the ease of porting that Apple wants to say that they have, there still has to be a market there.
Yeah.
And there just isn't today, because you talk to any gamer and they will tell you, like, you're going to have to convince those people. And I don't think just saying we have all these cool technologies that you've been waiting for to come to the Mac for forever, they're here now. Yeah, gamers are going to go, where are the titles?
Right. Fair.
And game developers are going to go, where are the users?
Where are my customers? Yeah.
Yeah. So
and Apple does have a pretty bad track record with the gaming space.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big ask.
Yeah, they got to fix that. So
I have another question, a tech question. So some of these new technologies that appear to be focused on the gaming space, it's kind of transparent. Your code will just take advantage of them. But some of the things, it's not clear to me, like with the whole on-chip ray tracing, things like that. Are these things that developers are going to have to code specifically for the M3, or does the hardware just take advantage of that for free for them?
I don't know. They weren't clear on that. My guess is that some of it, the hardware is just going to do for free. And then if you really want to eke out the most performance, you would write specifically for that chip.
Yeah, I was going to say, my understanding is it's very much a combination. It also comes down to any specific title and how it was actually developed. Like, there's probably some titles that are much easier and will just take advantage of a lot of these things. And then there's a lot of other titles that aren't. I mean, I think, again, I'm not a huge gamer, but I'm pretty sure ActiveX or whatever the current generation of that on the PC side is still a huge thing. And I don't think it's just a matter of that just flops over. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not my understanding that that's what happens from the game developer standpoint.
Yeah, I guess they could buy their way into being a gaming platform.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a sense, they have on the iPhone-ish, kind of, right? But they could buy their way in by signing exclusive titles on, Apple, right? You have to have an Apple device to play whatever the latest and greatest. I mean, it would cost them a lot, but
how about this? Just fund the game ports. Like, the developers that don't want to do it, just underwrite the freaking conversion of AAA titles.
I bet that's way cheaper than my idea.
I'm with you, Adam. That's what I was thinking too. Apple just starts writing checks to the development companies. Make a Mac version. Here's the money to go do it.
Or even here are the engineers to do it with you. Yeah. Like that. Would.
Or here's the money for the engineers.
Yeah, or both. If they really want to do this,
if they're serious,
if they're serious about it, they have the money to do it. They can invest their way into this, but they're going to need they're going to need a couple of big wins. But look at what they did with Apple TV Plus, right? Like they just kept spending and spending and spending and basically giving the service away for a long time until suddenly, they had Ted Lasso. And then it was like, aha, yeah, okay, now start coughing up your money, folks. Right? And it's not just Ted Lasso. They've had lots of hits on Apple TV Plus, but initially they didn't have any. And we were like, oh, I mean, this show's okay. That show's all right. Like, fine. But they were just pushing it. They know how that game works. And so they could do it. And I think they
didn't
probably
push
will.
out any crap. It was all at least good.
Yes, that's fair. Right.
That is 100% true. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that I've ever watched on it has been great. Now, I don't watch all this stuff. Like, I've never gone back to the morning show, but that was a great show. I really enjoyed it. I watched the first season. I haven't gotten back to it. Probably will someday.
The second season, I thought it ended strong, the morning show. The second season did not, in my opinion, start strong. We just watched the first episode of season 3, and I think in my household we were on the fence. I liked it. It brings back enough of the newsroom that I want to keep watching it because I really love that Sorkin series, The Newsroom. Yeah. It is like the writing's good on morning show. It's not Sorkin.
It's not.
Like I do not want to mislead anyone.
But I mean,
I am, other than myself. Like I mislead myself into watching it, and it's fine. It's good. Lisa was like, I asked her the next day. I'm like, what'd you think? Like, should we watch the next one? She was like, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of stuff that is falling into that category though for me too. It's like, it's not, that's just one example. But overall the quality level of everything that I've watched on Apple TV, even the stuff that I haven't gone back to, is way higher than probably 80% of the Netflix things that I tried. And it was just like, I am not coming back to this no matter what. This is just garbage.
You didn't like Tiger King?
I love Tiger King. That was
okay, good. Whew, I just wanted to make sure we could still be friends.
No,
That's
but,
okay.
But you know what I mean.
The only person that hasn't watched Tiger King yet. I mean, it's on my list. I just haven't gotten to it.
You are, yes, Jeff. You are the only person.
You are the only person. Yeah, but you get my point. It's like the base quality level of anything at Apple is top tier of, in my mind, almost any other streaming service, and then you find the real cream at the top.
Yeah, there's occasionally the cream, right, that just resonates.
Yeah, but there's very rarely something that I pop on Apple and I go like, this sucks.
Yep,
like,
fair.
Just flat out sucks.
Just flat out sucks. No, you're right. It may not be your cup of tea, but it's good quality. I found that with everything, including the things that were not my cup of tea. Where it's like, I like this doesn't, it just didn't get its hooks into me.
So many things on Netflix and Amazon that are just like, oh, they totally phoned this in. Like this was just garbage.
Yeah.
You know, if all the shows on Apple TV were shows that each of us liked, like just we all watch and it's like everything is great, that would actually really concern me. Because that would tell me they focused on a very narrow demographic, but having a lot of good stuff, some of which appeals to us, some of which doesn't. That's good. Get a wider demographic. And yeah.
Speaking of demographics, we backed into this Apple TV Plus conversation. No. Because I think it's relevant. We backed into it talking about games. How I used to play a lot of games. I have not. I just haven't carved out the time to do it. Do either of you play games at any level? I'm trying to convince myself that I should get back into it. So, expect this to maybe be an ongoing conversation here on the show, but I'm just curious.
But I'm lame and old, so I play a lot of Minecraft.
Okay.
Yeah, and I play Hearthstone is my other game.
All right.
Mobile.
All right. So for quite a while, I was very much into abduction.
Yeah, from
Cyan.
From Cyan, the mist people, folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm not into it or any other games right now is just life got kind of busy.
Okay.
But I was also like really into Kerbal Space Program for a long time. For same reason, just got too busy and
Say that one more time, because I want to put these in the show notes for people, and I don't know.
Kerbal Space Program.
Okay, got
It's a
it.
great
Thanks.
game. Yeah.
And
All right.
for people that know, they know. And for
Yep.
people that don't, you are so welcome for learning about Kerbal Space Program.
So I did start playing a game the other day. I was like, I need to find something that I want to play. And I thought, I pay for Apple TV Plus because I pay for Apple TV Plus. Sorry, for Apple
Arcade.
Apple Arcade. Yeah, we see, it's all the same.
all the
I
same.
merged it in my brain. I pay for Apple Arcade as part of my subscription. And I found Cypher 007 in there.
Yeah.
That's actually really fun. I mean, it's it got me. I'm now hooked. So it's not a. I thought everything in Apple Arcade would be just like quick little play for 5 minutes and you're bored kind of thing. And that is not true. Like, I played this game for an hour the other night, and now I want to go play it more. So, and I'm not done. It's not like I'm just playing the same thing over and over again. And it's an adventure game. Like yep.
Some of the stuff that they're bringing back to the revamping of some of the classic titles from iOS is a really interesting thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they brought it out in a plus version on Apple Arcade. There was a great game called Leo's Fortune that I
Leo's
really
Fortune,
enjoyed.
yes.
It was super fun. It's a side scroller kind of adventure kind of game sort of thing, and it is super fun.
Interesting. All
I
right.
went back to revisit it because I played it on iOS originally, and my daughter and I played it together and we beat it. So I haven't gone back to it, but
Sure.
that was a fun game.
Huh.
All right. So as someone that's into the gaming space in a more casual sense, the games that Apple needs to go after, I totally get it. They need to go after Halo and Quake and World of Warcraft and all of those caliber games. If they're going to go after that space, do they also need to go after I'll call it more casual, but also maybe more kid-oriented? For example, the games that I continually go back to are the Lego games.
A good question. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because they were definitely the last two events. If we kind of zoom out on both of them, they're pushing games hard. Even the last three events, right? If you go back to WWDC, like this was not a surprise tonight. It was an interesting thing to notice, but it was a follow-on to the thing that really started at WWDC, where they just started hammering this. So I'm curious. Go ahead. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I know this was a Mac event and they were talking about the Mac, but I really feel like Jeff alluded to earlier, I think this is a gear up to a bigger push for games in Apple Vision Pro.
Fair.
Like, I think that's going to be their platform, because it's a new platform that they can bring developers in on and support developers on. And from a VR perspective, not the AR, maybe some of the AR stuff too, but I guess it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I have a feeling like that's where all this M series game technology stuff is going, because they've got a brand new platform, something brand new that they can bring developers in on. It's not the Mac, so they don't have that stigma, but they can kind of maybe shake that off a little bit.
They can define what this new platform is.
Yeah.
And
like
there
they did
will
with
be
iOS.
hype. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Apple is, in the scheme of things, if you look at mobile gaming, like Apple is a dominant player in mobile gaming.
Totally.
Massively dominant player. And I have a feeling they want to do the same thing, but now with Vision Pro, they can take that to the next level. They can go after these more hardcore gaming type folks. And these folks are also, remember, the people that will spend $3,000-$4,000 on a gaming PC.
Yes. It astounds me when I see friends post about what they've spent on a gaming PC. And it's like, oh man, like I wonder how close a Mac could get to that for probably less. And maybe I know Apple doesn't like to market that way, but man, like that, that would
a Mac Studio or a Mac Pro
Yeah.
positioned as a gaming machine.
right.
There's no hardware in the market that could compete with it just dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. But I mean, again, you got to have the titles and you got to have the developers dedicated to the platform, and they're just not. And Apple has a hard time convincing them currently. But they, like I said, I think they have an opportunity with a new platform to be like, hey, get in on the ground floor because we put in all this gaming tech and all this development resources, and we're going to have a bunch of folks clamoring after titles on these things, and it's brand new. So I don't know.
Yeah. There were two other things I noticed at Apple was selling us under the surface on this event. One, and I don't really know that there's much to talk about on it, is pushing the upgrade from Intel, right?
That was interesting.
That was kind of ham-fisted.
It was ham-fisted, but it was there, right? Like, I mean, yeah, smooth or not, you knew that they were telling people, all right, we're ready for you now. Come on, like, let's go. Get over to Apple Silicon, and they explain why. So that, like, I thought that was good. The other thing that they were pushing was Sonoma. They were, highlighting Sonoma features and saying, we're really ready for you. And I know that I am biased because Sonoma's audio functions much better than Ventura's does for me in my setup here. And while I'm not alone, I am definitely rare in that Ventura didn't break audio for most people. But even beyond what it fixes with audio, I've been really happy with Sonoma on all of my Macs. Like it's the first Mac OS in a while that I'm happy about, other than the thing where it breaks mail plugins and I had to change to Thunderbird, but whatever, things happen. Are you guys happy with Sonoma?
I'm kind of indifferent about Mac OS Wine Country.
Okay.
I've had audio issues up until the 14.1 update.
Oh, interesting.
And losing all of my mail plugins has been a serious problem for my workflow.
Same. I moved to Thunderbird, Jeff. I won't belabor the point because we've belabored it in the previous two episodes, but like I'm happy to have that conversation with you because it's not great, but it is functional.
And I'm holding out for that beta of Mail Maven.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
well, when it comes out, you and we'll have you back on the show and we'll talk about that because I think there's clearly more conversation to have about this.
Yes, and I know that's not our topic tonight, but you know what? I am so looking forward to the email episode of Mac Geek Gab.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do a deep dive at some point. That's a good idea.
The Sonoma thing for me, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Like I have nothing other to say. Like I upgraded, it went great. I haven't noticed much of a difference in my daily usage or workflow, which I guess is a positive thing. But there's not like a brand new feature that I've keyed in on yet. Like with the last update, definitely continuity camera kind of changed how I was doing things. So far, the biggest thing I notice is the little privacy thing where it shows you when an app is it's doing it now because we're streaming, right? It's showing me, hey, something's screen sharing your video or your audio.
But you can also use that to, for those of you that haven't done this in Sonoma yet, when almost any app, for me, it's been every app is using a camera, be it an Apple camera or a third-party camera, go click on that little, like you're saying, Adam, the privacy notification in the menu bar. Click on that, and you can change settings for your camera and use Apple's portrait lighting and studio light and even, the reactions that Apple lets us do and all of that good stuff. It's pretty cool how well it works with anything. In fact, if you're going to do Zoom calls for work, I recommend you go in and at least experiment with the reactions and decide whether you want them on for Zoom or off.
Fair.
Yeah.
Discounting all of the really great controls you have from those notifications.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they took what was previously nondescript dots in the menu bar and turned them into something that actually gives you useful information. Thank you.
Yeah. Fair.
But that's like the one new feature of like really noticing, and like I haven't put widgets on. Like
I need to do the widgets thing. Have you done widgets, Jeff?
I have, and what I found is that most of what I want with widgets, I actually don't want on my Mac.
right.
But I didn't know that until I started playing with all the widgets. It's stuff that I want to see on my iPhone or my iPad. So right now, the only widget I still have active is the one that shows me battery levels.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I got to mess with widgets. I that's definitely on my
But
list.
the fact that I could
cover it up
see
anyway.
my iPhone widgets on my Mac, that was cool. Like having carrot weather
Yeah.
on my desktop, that was really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, we have done it. I had all the faith in the world that we would. We have gone longer talking about Apple's event than Apple did with the event. I believe that's a first. But of course, this was the shortest Apple event that I can remember. It may be the shortest event in history. It was about 31 minutes. If I wasn't keeping a timer, but I was aware of the time. So, yeah. Is there anything more that either of you have to add to what we're talking about here, or is it time to say goodnight?
I have something to add.
What's that, Jeff?
My M2 MacBook Pro
Yeah.
still hasn't completed its first year of Apple Care, and it's already.
I don't mean to laugh at you.
Obsolete.
No, laughing is appropriate because otherwise I'd have to cry. Holy crap, Apple! I got 9 months before there's a new model out to replace mine.
Fair.
And on one hand, that sucks. On the other hand, if I were Intel, I would be crapping bricks, as they say, because of how fast Apple can rev their chips and get them out the door. And they're doing things that Intel just simply can't do right now.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, and we're spoiled now. I mean, look at how quickly we got the first M1s in fall of 2020.
Yeah,
right?
we're on the third generation, 2 years into this chip.
3 years.
Are we 3 years?
Right? Because it was fall of 2020 that we saw the M1 MacBook Air, and this is 3 years later that we're on the M3.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
still, that's really fast.
It's really fast, and there are marked improvements in the chips. It's not just like we're going to call it they can call it whatever they want. There's like they can back it up. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Interesting.
It's interesting Jeff brought up that thing because I'm in that other camp where, like you said earlier, Dave, this was the first keynote they were targeting Intel users. I still have the last generation Intel MacBook Pro.
Oh, is that okay? I almost made it. We were having some. I say we. Adam was having some tech issues before the show, if you don't mind. And you had to reboot your Mac. And I almost made a joke about, you need to upgrade that Intel Mac to an Apple Silicon.
True.
But it actually is true. I thought you were on Apple Silicon there already. Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm actually kind of glad I waited. And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. I generally don't have any issues with that. Now I have an M1 for work. But yeah, for my daily driver for, my personal computer, it's still that Apple Silicon, like last generation 15-inch MacBook Pro.
Intel.
Or Intel, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Intel. And I don't know. I mean, as much as the new M3s look great, it's just like I'm not itching to spend the money.
Right.
And I don't know that there's enough still in there for me to like be I'm going to probably be that person that waits until like the operating system won't run on Intel anymore, which is probably, I'm guessing, the next generation. So
I have a feeling they were telegraphing that tonight when they were
Right.
saying, hey, if you've got an Intel, this is a really great time to upgrade.
probably,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Huh.
yeah, the next Mac OS California City here is probably not going to be Intel compatible. It wouldn't surprise me.
Fair.
That's my expectation, especially after tonight's event.
Yep.
And then
All right.
we'll
Well,
upgrade.
that's a good spot for us to bring the band in. Thank you both for doing this tonight. This was actually fun. This conversation went in a direction I did not expect, and I'm glad it did. because
So much fun.
Mac Geek Gab After Dark, it kind of felt like. I don't know. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. Feedback at macgeekgab.com is where you can send in all of your comments, questions, tips. I will make sure things get to Adam and Jeff as appropriate. But if you want to get in touch with them directly, Adam, you want to tell people where to find you, please?
Yep, mine's super easy. You can find me at maccast.com, maccast on the social medias. And if you need to send me an email, it's maccast@gmail.com.
And Jeff?
I'm Jay Gamet on all the socials.
Perfect.
You can find me most easily right now on Mastodon, Instagram, and I'm working on Threads.
Nice. All right. Yeah. I got into Threads when it first started and then forgot about it until you said it just now. So I need to get back into that. Yeah.
I'm working on it too.
All right. Yeah, we'll work on that together. All right. I'll see you over there on Threads, folks. I'll see you on, I'm Dave Hamilton everywhere, X and Mastodon and Facebook and all that good stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. Thanks for listening. Share the show with a friend. We would love that. And, keep having fun out there. Jeff, it's been a little while since you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to have, like, one word's not enough. 5 is way too many. Do you maybe have, like, 3 words of generic advice that you might be able to share with someone like me who's a podcaster and is supposed to be accurate and then goes and visits the education store and shares the wrong prices with all my listeners?
I do. And Dave, I say this with all love. Don't get caught.
Made on a Mac.
It's good advice. I'll try and take it to heart.
Yeah, take notes.
Later. We're out. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Yeah, there's a lot of people watching and a lot of people in the chat. I couldn't keep up with all of the chat. But Ben Rothig, you made a really interesting comment through the show that EA is for sale. So that would be...
yeah. Well.
Yeah.
How do you do that, Dave?
You have
need
to be...
upgrade to a Mac that wasn't made by Intel.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
That's why.
That's what it is. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting comment, Ben. That could be...
EA is for sale. You know, that sure would be an easy way to buy yourself into a market.
Right?
And Ben is absolutely correct about saying Jeff and appropriate don't belong in the same sentence.
I mean,
also,
obviously.
Dave, you said this is kind of like Mac Geek Gab After Dark. Oh, no.
I know.
This was not After Dark.
I know. And I waited to say that at the end because I knew if I called it Mac Geek Gab After Dark in the beginning, then I would have to flip the explicit warning on it. And yeah, it would not have gone well. So yeah, there
it
is
probably
a
would
reason.
have gone well, but not for you.
That's fair.
I did not see a single flying toaster.
There were no flying toasters. No, there were no. But
No,
but there's rain. There's rain.
Oh, there is.
There is rain. Yeah. But we love it all anyway.
How do we get balloons? Is this balloons?
Yeah, that's balloons.
No,
How come
confetti.
I can't get the...
You
I got confetti.
Apparently, the
And
kids have a
balloons.
new
No,
way of
you
doing-
had confetti and balloons. How did you do the balloons, Jeff?
Apparently, there's a new way
I did the
the
Richard
kids are
Nixon
doing the
thing,
heart thing.
like this.
There it is. That's it,
There's
Adam.
the confetti.
Well, that's the old school way. Apparently, I've been told they have
this
a new,
way.
They have some new. No, it's like
yeah, they're doing
some
this.
weird thing like this or something like that.
Oh yeah, the thing where they do. Yeah.
It's
Does
some
it know
weird-
about
they
that
got,
too?
Like fingers up or something like that. I don't know. I just learned this the other day. I'm old.
Yeah,
I
Richard
I know
Nixon
what you're
gets
talking-
confetti, and that gets balloons. Oh no!
Fireworks.
How did we get balloons?
So I did confetti.
Confetti is Richard Nixon. Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, but I got balloons.
Is one peace sign hand is balloons. Richard Nixon is confetti. That's why. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And then 2 horns, you get lasers.
Pew pew.
And smoke, like you get fuck. Sorry, I can't believe I said smoke because I learned playing in bands, if you walk into a club and you start talking about as you're setting up and loading in, you're like, oh, who's going to set up the smoke machine? Someone involved in management of the club will come over and tell you, absolutely not. You're not allowed to use the smoke machine. However, if you say, hey, who's got the fog machine? It's never an issue. And they are literally the same device. And fog is more accurate a name than smoke because you're not actually burning, anything. But yeah, or the haze machine is even better. But it is you don't say smoke. So we get haze, we get fog.
Dave, as long as you're talking about the fog machines.
Yes.
Years ago, I used to do my own haunted house thing.
Yeah.
Every year, and had fog machines and all this stuff. So here's a fun hack for you in case you want to have the low hanging fog. Get yourself one of the coolers, and you drill a hole, like this, through each side, and then you take PVC pipe.
Yep.
And on one end, it's just like a tube coming out. On the other end, it's PVC pipe doing a big U shape. Okay.
I feel like we're making a swamp cooler here, but yeah, keep going.
It's a lot like that. Okay. So now you have the two pieces that are sticking inside your cooler.
Right.
Get wire mesh and make a tube out of that so it connects the two ends, but it's mesh. So it's
mesh. So yeah.
So you have a clear path through. Now fill the thing with dry ice, put the lid on, you set your fog machine on top with the nozzle pointing at that U-shaped tube, and it blows the fog into that, chills it, and then it comes out and hangs to the ground on the other side, and you are welcome. Lisa is going to love hearing about this.
Oh, that's a great tip. Oh, yeah. I like it. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, Tennessee Papa in our Discord chat says the bug juice in the fog machine. That stuff reeks. It smells like the stuff we used for years smells like strawberries. And what would happen is we'd use it all night, and then I would pack my cymbals up. This is when I was on the road, like with Hypnotic Clambake, and we were playing every night. Mm-hmm. I'd pack my drums and therefore my cymbals into their case, put it on the bus, we'd go to the next venue or whatever, set up the next day. Now, of course, I was packing it up right at the end of the gig. And
Please tell me smoke comes out.
No, cymbals are just big sheets of metal, right? And this stuff just sticks to them. And I would open my cymbal case the next day, and it was like I got beat in the face with strawberries. Much better, though, than what happens when I would play a smoky club, and I would open the cymbal case the next day, and my cymbals would reek of cigarettes. I had to wash my cymbals when I was playing in smoky clubs.
Nicotine is the worst.
It sticks to everything.
Well, you repaired computers for a while.
Yeah, it's fair.
One part of your life, right?
Yeah.
You talk to anybody who's done computer repairs, especially back in the 80s. Everybody was smoking.
Everybody smoked. In the office.
Sticky on the inside.
It's the sticky.
Be like dripping.
Yeah. Yeah, cannabis odor also sticks. It is sticky in the same way. And I noticed that in some computers that I repaired in Austin back in the 90s. It was like, oh, I know what you guys do here. Yeah.
As someone who lives in Colorado, I do feel qualified to speak on this subject.
You're a professional.
And, if you want to avoid all of the sticky, stinky, all the after effects stuff that just makes it kind of messy, there are some amazingly high quality edible products, not like brownies, but gummies, the little tablets you lay under your tongue, where you can get very specific controlled dosing, so you get just the effect you want without the messy other parts.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, no, technology with that has come along in a way that serves consumers quite well.
I'm pretty sure that's the preferred method among most people these days that are into that sort of thing. I very rarely hear people actually still smoking.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair. Yeah. I will say to folks who haven't experienced that yet, they will tell you this everywhere if you are willing to listen, and I encourage you to listen. Start low and go slow, because the last thing you want to do is learn that you just took a dosage that is more than you care to have. So start low and go slow. And I say this
think
as
that's
someone
excellent advice.
I say this as someone who has a very delicate relationship with THC. Like if anybody knows I don't take THC that often. I do not like playing the drums on it. I would never want to podcast on it. I know people that love to play music on it. It's a judgment about me, not them. But most people find 5 or 10 milligrams of THC to be the right for them. For me, that's either one of those numbers would be a massive ordeal. I'm more like 1. So, yeah. And you might be like me. So don't go take 10 and think you're going to be all right if you've never experienced it before. I just like to help. It's who I am. I can't help but help. So, yeah. All right. Now I need to go produce a show. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. I'm going to start saying goodbye to everybody on the stream. So, as usual, audio goes first. Thank you so much, folks. This has been a blast. And audio is done. And now I will say goodbye on the video. Thank you. We'll see you on